Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Welcome and thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my mini-series on the Alan Parsons project over the last couple of videos when I looked at La Sagrada Familia, which is of course inspired by the cathedral in Barcelona, and then the beautiful song Last Time, which likens life to a river. Beautiful epic performance of that particular song. And we go from the Alan Parsons project to Australian singer-songwriter Alex Lloyd. Now, Alex is an incredible songwriter. I've actually had the privilege of seeing him a couple of times, and his melodies just have a way of lifting us to other places. And together with his words, he's just an all-round songwriter. And I wanted to bring 3 songs to you from him today. The reason being that when you put these 3 songs in a particular order, you get a story. So I'll introduce the songs first, and then we'll get on to the story. So off his Watching Angels Mend album, which came out in 2001, we've got the song Amazing, which is his signature tune. It was his breakthrough song, and it really captured Australia's imagination in particular. And also on that album, a song called Green, which again is just, the song just goes into amazing places, that song, and it just really lifts your spirits. And then from there we go to Never Meant to Fail, which came off his album entitled Alex Lloyd from 2005. So when you put those 3 songs, Green, Amazing and Never Meant to Fail, in order, you get a story. So I suppose today the invitation again is to just sit back and relax and just become engaged with this story. It's a story of a young couple who've been together for about 4 years, and that is Jessie and Chris. Now, Jessie is an accountant. He's been working in a firm for a while, and Chris does a bit of marketing, so she's enjoys getting people's messages to the world. Well, one day Jessie noticed that one of his workmates, Catherine, wasn't going so well, and so he went up to her to ask her how she was, and she started to tell just all of the horrible stuff that had been happening to her, and Jessie really felt for her and really wanted to help. And so over the course of 2 or 3 months, they started catching up a bit more because Jessie thought he was helping, and Catherine was really appreciating his attention. Well, it come to one fateful night where things went further than they should have, and they found themselves in a situation they never thought they'd be in. And it's almost like their brains checked out for a moment and they went where they just should not have gone. Now, obviously, in the morning when Jessie realised what had happened, his thoughts immediately turned to Chris. And his thoughts thought, oh no, what have I done? What have I done? I have betrayed her trust. I didn't mean for that to happen. It didn't mean anything, but it's happened. I've been with another woman. How could I let this happen? So anyway, weeks and weeks went by, and he just felt really guilty about the fact of what he'd done with Catherine. To eventually came to a point one fateful night when they were out, Jessie and Chris were out having dinner. Chris just said, "What's wrong, Jessie? There's something up with you." And at that point, Jessie laid his heart on the line and said, "Chris, I've made a really big mistake. I've been with another woman. I never meant it to happen. She was going through a really hard time, and I just wanted to help, and it went further than should have, and I was with her. I feel horrible about this. I feel sad about this because I love you, but I feel horrible. Chris just stared at him. And then very quietly she just gets up and leaves without saying a word. Jesse's just sitting there. He sits there and his world has been absolutely destroyed. Time moves on a little bit for both Jessie and Chris. Jesse finds himself in a world he doesn't understand. He's on his own, and so girls are approaching him and wanting to spend time with him. But he just feels overwhelmingly guilty. In fact, he remembers a conversation with one particular girl, and he says, "Look, you don't want to be with me. I'm dirty, I'm disgusting. I will just betray you. I don't think you should be with me. I'm getting over stuff at the moment, and just don't. I think that you want to be with me, but I just feel really dirty and really ugly, and I can't be with anyone at the moment. I hope you understand." And he felt this way for a while, and this feeling of dirt and ugliness was just overwhelming him and him taking up his very, very day. In fact, it got so bad for him that his work suffered, and he ended up getting sacked from his job. And he was absolutely devastated. He was overwhelmed with guilt. And so he felt like his life was not worth living. He didn't want to do himself in because he still had a little bit of hope, but he was feeling horrible. What have I done to Chris? And I kind of still love her. Anyway, when Chris left Jessie that night, she felt betrayed and she felt like her life was over. And so she decided that she needed to get away for a couple of weeks. And so she took some time off her marketing career and she decided to go into the country for a while to just be by herself so she could have time to think and time to process what had happened. She couldn't believe Jesse had done what he had done. And she was really, really struggling. But as she was watching the beautiful sunset one night, she thought back to the amazing things, the amazing times that she had had with Jesse. The times they would just walk along the beach, or the intimate moments they shared, or the time that they just had the fun at that fair, the walks on the jetties, the coffees, the meals. And she started to think of all the wonderful, amazing moments they had shared together. But she couldn't see how after what Jessie had done that they could get back together. Still, she appreciated the moment, appreciated the time away, and her brain was somehow just a little bit clearer because of that time. She'd given herself space, I suppose, to reflect and to think. So what would happen to this couple? Would they just separate now and never be in each other's life again? I mean, is it irretrievable now? If you think about affairs, I suppose they are a betrayal of trust. And once that happens, it's very difficult to come back. So anyway, Jesse had more time on his hands now, and he was wandering around the streets, and he was just going to a bar every now and then. and he was just being a bit aimless. Chris, on the other hand, she'd gone back to her job and she was kind of going alright in that, even though she still felt quite hollow about what had happened. Well, one day Jessie thought, I'll just go back to one of our favourite spots, and he just happened to be in there having a drink. And he just happens to see Chris there, and she was playing pool with another guy. They seemed to be having a good time and enjoying it, and he just sat and watched and observed and saw this girl, Chris. Chris didn't see him, and she ended up leaving with the guy. And Jessie thought, well, that was nice, and he thought he probably could go after her and see how she was going, but he decided not to. As Chris was leaving with the guy, she did see Jessie, but she pretended not to see. She just pretended not to see him. But she did see Jessie there. And she was surprised to see him, and she was filled with conflicting emotions at seeing him again. And so there was a brief meeting there. There was a brief time of interaction there. So anyway, Jessie thought, well, I'll just go for a walk again, and I'll just do whatever. But he finds himself just staying. He doesn't want to go anywhere at the moment. He just wants to stay, and he just wants to just be himself there, to remember the place where he and Chris had such beautiful times. And after about half an hour, Chris walks back in the door, and she just stands there and looks at Jessie. And there is just a very, very slight smile as Chris looks at Jessie. I'll leave the story there. There are many things that you can take away from that, but I'll leave it for you to decide what happens next. Because the beautiful thing, I suppose, about human beings, even though at times we can feel betrayed and we can feel horrible about the things that have happened, there's just something bigger within us that sometimes will counteract that betrayal and will drag us towards wanting to do something to reconcile even. I think in the terms of, when things are really, really hard, we don't shut the door completely. We leave it ajar. And I suppose the invitation there is that if we are being real with ourselves, we can go to a bigger place where perhaps we can forgive. Particularly when the person who has hurt you says, look, I'm really, really sorry. In those particular moments, we have an opportunity to forgive. We probably will need to say some things that we need to say. But over time, maybe trust can be built up again, even from a thing such as an affair. Because love is such a powerful and potent force. And sometimes we need it to help us get through stuff. And hopefully, as Jessie found with Chris, that if that smile did go on to something else, well, forgiveness can be what happens from it. So I'll leave that story with you today. If you're in this situation right now, if you've been the one that's done the wrong thing, maybe even, it's not very hard to say sorry, given what's at stake. And if you were in Chris's situation here, where you have been betrayed, and someone says to you, look, I'm really, really sorry for what's happened. I feel horrible about it. Well, there's an opportunity there for you to forgive as well. So I'll leave that story with you. So again, onto the clips today. We've got, I suppose, the three official clips. We're going to start off with the song Green. Again, that's the part of the story where Jessie is feeling just so ugly with himself. And in this song, Alex Lloyd writes the Lord, if you want to be with me, I may not be your friend. I just may not be anything at all to you. So it's just better off leaving me alone. So that's the song Green. How amazing it does this. This song goes into some really amazing places. And I think this clip in particular just complements this compelling nature of this song so well. So that's the song Green. Then the song Amazing, and that's the part of the story where Chris is gone away and she recalls all of the amazing things that Jessie and her used to do. And I suppose there's just, that song's just full of memories and recounting all of the amazing things that you can do with someone else. And how upliftingly beautiful is this song, and how amazingly wonderful just this song actually, the way it ends is amazing. There's a real sense of hope at the end of this song. And then finally, probably the most poignant of clips, and that's Never Meant to Fail. And I suppose that's looking at the part of the story where they do potentially meet again and see what happens. So we see parts of what I recounted in that story in this clip. And just the way the video ends, there's a real sense of hope there with this finishing story. So I encourage you to look at those three clips. The links to each of those are in the description below, and I do encourage you to watch it in the order that I've got it there, because it just seems to make sense for the story today. So I trust that this video has been an encouragement to you. If you do like this video, please give it the thumbs up and subscribe. And because I reflect on life through music, and there certainly is much more content to go. Next time I'm going to be looking at Amy Grant. And so until then, I'll see you around.